Paige and I, it's always meet 3 times a week. Kind of excited for some of these other.
It's a meaningful evening for all.
Okay. I guess as during the fall. So good.
And we can, let's, yeah, Brandon, we can. More table space too.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Like when I see back ahead, that's how we.
That Dave's on. Dave's here. I think Sarah's hopping on. She never just texted, so I'm guessing she'll. Yeah, how are you? I'm sorry to all for all the emails today. I don't know why, but I was very, very productive. They replaced our Dr. Pepper today. Suddenly the emails just started flowing in. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Amy. How you doing? Hi, everybody.
How's your dad doing, Dave?
Very good. Just in recovery.
Oh, good.
August 6 o'clock, we've got a quorum, so
You're so far away.
This is what my name tag was.
So you're showering or deodorant, brushing your teeth?
I don't think so.
Tyson can let us know for the record.
Tyson's used to that kind of stuff.
Pretty
I
sorry.
fit in on this side, but not part of the cool kids. Yeah. Anyway, we'd like to call this meeting to order, meeting of Pleasant City Council on the Tuesday, February 13th. I've got 6 o'clock on the button. I can excuse the mayor today. He's with his family out of town. We have Dave Merritt joining us by Zoom, and Sarah
Is anticipated to join, hasn't yet.
is anticipated to join, but she's not there. And Phil as well here today. I'd like to start with the pledge of allegiance and opening prayer. I'll do that. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holy Father, we're really thankful for this opportunity of the as a city council and staff. We're thankful for the blessings of freedom for our community. We enjoy peace and prosperity in our community. We appreciate that. We're thankful that we are able to have our homes here and maybe enjoy the freedoms we have. And for this Department of Public Works and those first responders, who has to be with them, they help take care of us and be there when we need them most. Father, there are many people that have frustrations and issues at this time. We ask that thy spirit be with them, the spirit of peace will be with them, and fathers will make decisions for the city, help us to have those good principles and end results in our thoughts. We thank you for all we have and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Any chance to look at the agenda? Any conflicts of interest?
Yeah.
Dave?
And I don't know if Sarah's.
It was on there as a picture. Is that disappeared or is somebody thought?
He just turned his camera off.
Okay. I would say no. Other comments from the community that are not on the agenda? Right, you've got 3 minutes. Yeah. And these are items that are not.
Does he have a microphone?
So do what?
Would this be on the agenda?
Yeah, you can do it now, or you can talk when we talk about fee schedule, so it's item number 2.
Yeah, we don't have a public
Are we not
hearing
doing a
scheduled,
public
so it's optional to.
Oh, now's the
Sure,
time.
now's the time, yeah.
State your name.
My name is Dave Alvord. I live at 1173 West, 4200 North. This is you. I coach at the high school. I coach lacrosse. I just stopped practice, so it's good to do it now. So I'm gonna run back up there. But I just wanted to address the city, the whole, I guess, community. I've been a part of lacrosse for probably 4 or 5 years, specifically running the youth program here in Pleasant View, or also North Ogden, also the Valley. It's a big life program. And I've had really good luck with the city. It's been awesome. You guys have been great to work with. You've been super generous, nice to us. You've given hundreds of kids a place to play. Who has been awesome. It's been fun. A good experience for me. It's all volunteer. I don't any my boys are involved, so that's where I get the juice out of it. But I just feel like lately there's been Pleasant View City's turning into more of a city than a community. And I say that just from something on the agenda tonight. It's not storing any, I haven't read it. I just heard pieces of it. Not storing non-city property on site. And I totally get it. And city sports should take precedence. I agree with that over lacrosse. We're not a part of the city sport or whatever. But I can't help but feel, and it's probably directed to a lot of bigger problems. But I feel like we're losing this as a community a little bit. That we used to just be able to call and have conversations, and the things make sense at work. The city, you've been very accommodating, like especially with down there, getting us off the view park. And ultimately, I don't know whether this belongs here or not, but I'm just saying that I just looked at registration numbers today. I don't know the exact number, but we got 100 kids in the program. Probably 50-ish are from Pleasant View or the close area. And we've all practiced down here in the bowl for a decade, 10, 12 years since my kid, again, been awesome. And with we're growing website registration, lots of complexities, and we want to be good partners. That's really the only thing I'm trying to say is the lacrosse community. We want to be good guys. So I think I saw this coming, taking one step off. So I've been trying to get collapsible, removable goals for all the coaches, so they're not in Bob's way, and you know there's no conflict with that. But I also know that a lot of parents and people in the community get a lot of enjoyment out of being able to play at our parks. We get compliments from people that travel from other cities. Oh my heck, you guys have the most beautiful facilities, and we love them. The Parker Park and the Ted, of course. There's been problems in the bathroom. We got accused of being lacrosse kids, and I said, if it is, we'll pay for it. We'll cover that. Is it on camera? Who did it? I want to know, right? We couldn't get to the bottom of that. I think that's where the thing started off the rails. Ultimately, I just want to get to the point that we donated money to fix the bathroom. We just, ideally, if there's any way that we can play at Orchard Park on Saturdays, we'll rent the whole field. We want to be good community members, but that's all I really want to get at. So I don't know if this is the time for that passion plea, but just wanting that across. We have a lot of good people in the community. You guys have been great to us too. If it all were a city for us to play at Orchard on Saturdays, we'll practice wherever we want. We could probably get on Orion Junior High or other fields, but things are just getting tight. Field base is super hard. We thought we had North Ogden worked out. Becca's like, come up. Wait a minute. We don't have any room, soccer and football there. So people at Far West have been gracious enough to let us. We've been practicing at Far West outside of the boundaries. That's pretty much boundaries. So anyway, Pleasant View's great. We love you. We appreciate it. And if at all possible, we'd like to be able to work logically together. So that's all I got.
Thanks.
Thanks, David. We don't really comment on this, but I have to make this one quick comment. My goal is to have this still be a community, that's Pleasant, not some big monstrous city.
Right?
City. I mean, I hope that we're doing that. Because some of these things we're going to talk about today are, all the fees and things, and we just have to bring them up to the level that we're comfortable with to cover our costs and things, so.
Which is totally just.
Which is fine, but, you know, we do try to have everybody involved, and I hope we don't lose that, so. As, you know, as a representative of the city, or, you know, as a customer of the city, you know, please reach out to us and make sure that we are, because we're the voice of the people.
Yeah. Oh, totally, yeah.
So we want to do our very best to have everybody have fun, have the kids have something better to do than sit around playing video games. That's my choice. I don't want to get into these either, but I appreciate your comment, appreciate you coming, and having, you know, just that communication that I feel is very, very important. And the city's doing a great job with, I'm very proud of her and the things that she's been able to do with our rec. It's a big job, and so I give her our support and try to fit everything in.
Yeah. Oh, I don't discount
But
it.
I do, you know, I hope that we're not getting away from what Pleasant is. I've been here 30 years.
You know, that's why I came to talk with you, because I just, this is a data point for consideration, you know, you guys make the best decision for the community, and we'll support it, right?
But anyway,
Yeah.
but as we consider the things today, you know, we'll talk about it and have some discussion. But anyway, thank you for coming. I do want to appreciate that. There's not a lot of people that come and care.
Right.
You know, they're quick to judge, but they don't come here and voice their opinions. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks for putting on the program.
Love it. You know, we got a lot of great kids. It's been awesome. Really good. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
item number 2, amend the park regulation, consolidated fee schedule. This is a discussion about possible consideration to amend the park regulations and consolidate fee schedule regarding parks, recreation, field and fees. And this will be handled under ordinance 2024-6 and resolution 2024-C, which you should have a copy in front of you. And Amy and Cindy will be presenting this.
Yeah.
Turn it over to whoever.
Okay. Want to be right there? Either way, if we're just gonna tag team a little bit for you. So I'll just give a brief summary. Love Cindy to interject. So our fees have not been updated in some time in a collective manner, and so we actually, in looking at our ordinances, and Cindy's been really good at doing some cleanup. We have 3 different places in our code that reference the fees. So the fee schedule, which is highly appropriate. We have some fees referenced in our recreation section of the code. And then also we've had included in our code, it's a park regulations guideline document. And the problem and the challenge with the 3 different pieces kind of floating out there is over time, different portions of the code have been updated. Oh, let's make this change to the fees. Oh, let's make this change to the ordinance. Let's make this change to the guidelines. And then suddenly you're in a bit of a pickle with which one are we following? Which one are we applying? Where are we at with this? And so I really appreciate Cindy's efforts. Tyson and Bob have poured through this as well. Laurie has assisted us with the ordinance language and making sure everything matches up. And so the hope and the intent is that it's clear we do need something in the fee schedule to be able to identify these things, but making sure that that matchup is there. And again, kind of that layman's term language to make it clear so that people can comprehend and understand, hey, if I'd like to do X, this is what that costs or what that means. I don't know if Councilmember Yuri, oh, she's trying to join. Sorry. Oh, there she is. But I'll wait for her to join. She'd called me.
You want to wait on that for 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay, so part of this as well has been addressed because I've been here for going on 3 years. And as I stepped into this role, there wasn't clear policy on a lot of things. And part of that's because the city was smaller and growing into a city, and we need to have it stated instead of just like, oh, hey, I'll make this up or I'll do this and kind of winging it as we go. But in the almost 3 years that I've been here, our program has steadily grown every single year, 10 to 20% on registration numbers going up and all of that. And it's because Pleasant View is growing. Part of it's that. And there's just this push to create community through having recreation sports, not comp sports, not all of those other things, which are great as well. but just having that community base run by the city. And so, the biggest challenge that we have is we're running into space issues. Always, having enough field space, having enough place to play city recreation programs. And so, I know that that's frustrating, for other outside leagues that wants to rent our fields, but really that's the challenge.
And
Is ours growing?
just to, I guess, piggyback on that, our populations continue to grow, but our parks have not. And so we're dealing with usage and
Yes, and in fact, there's even more tricky things to it with the pickleball project and with, this spring, there's going to be some updates there at the Barker Bowl, to take care of that detention basin, which is actually the purpose of that park. And so we're just running into problems. Right. But yes, that's the thing is we actually are trying to program more with even less space.
Mhm.
That's the point. Okay.
no, you're fine. That's excellent. But just kind of back to the fees and it was interesting. I had some dialogue with Councilmember Yuri this week and she just said, well, I don't feel like what's being proposed is going to cover the actual costs. And I said, well, we had a lot of discussion. So we had a committee that kind of formulated this proposed draft. And so the mayor was involved, Tyson and Bob, Cindy and myself. And in kind of going through, we wanted to also make sure that the costs were not so high that it would prohibit participation. I mean, there's a reason why recreational programming is subsidized and a darn good reason as well. And so just kind of trying to weigh out that balance as to how we increase the fees to get them more to market, but also not to overdo it. And so it's a little bit of a combination of looking at the costs, but also looking at comparable surrounding communities and how they're addressing fees.
Yeah, so with that, we're proposing, in the beginning here, an increase in some of our recreation fees. That's just to be comparable with surrounding communities and also with Jersey prices that need to rise. We're still trying to keep them as affordable as possible. And so that's why some of those have gone up or changed that way. And then, to our park fee. So our park fee used to just be $10 per hour per field. And we're proposing that we kind of diversify that fee a little bit. And if it's just an individual or, you know, a single team that wants to do that, that is still fine. But when we have leagues reserving the park and bring in 2, 3, 4 teams at a time, that's where it's just more wear and tear and it's more to do. And so we're proposing that the field reservation fee for league practice be placed at $25 per hour. And then for games, a single game, $100, and for multiple games or tournaments. So for instance, they want the park for the entire day, $250.
Is that, and that doesn't include the Bowery, right?
Well, so that's been the biggest issue with Barker Park reservations. Shading Lane is different. We have software that traditionally has reserved at Shading Lane, but we don't have those same challenges because that Bowery down there is not resistant.
Yeah.
And because there are 3 restrooms available at Shady Lane Park, it's just a different venue. And so we haven't had the same challenges there. And so, yes, that's been the challenge here with Barker Park is the Bowery reservations, overlapping with the baseball and with the reservation of the bowl. And really the Barker Park or the Barker Bowl just can't accommodate that many people at a time. So if it is this multiple league games and tournaments, yes, that would have to be in place of a Bowery reservation. So we had decided with this committee that if there is a full day of games scheduled, that we will block out the Bowery for that day, which takes away that revenue possibility. But more concerning is it takes away that possibility of residents just being able to use the Bowery and use the park. If we're giving it up for, you know, 4, 5, 6 weekends throughout the summer. Because we don't want to bring so many people that the people who reserve the Bowery can't even access the Bowery.
Yeah.
Or don't have access to bathroom supplies in the Bowery because we've overbooked with the bowl or baseball as well. And the general public's use, yeah. Thanks.
For clarification while we're right here.
Yeah.
So on the individual use, if you look below, it says individual use is defined as used by a private, single, individual, or team. So basically, they're saying like if I'm back in the day coaching on AYSO, whatever, I can reserve that as an individual. Yeah.
Yes, and we do have a few coaches that like to do that. All of our parks are first come, first served. So any team can show up and play. But the difference is if it's an organized league that's having practices and scheduling it out, like say Monday through Thursday, 5 to 9, and reserving the whole park, that's different use than just one coach bringing one team for 1 hour on a specific day.
But if SWAT were to come in and reserve the whole field for like multiple main spots, like they're playing here.
Yep, that would be
the
the
league.
Yep, that's considered the league. And so, yes, it used to be $50 for the day for a league to reserve the field. And so when soccer SWAT was reserving Shady Lane, we considered that two fields, the north field and the south field. They were paying $100 a day to play their games down there. Lacrosse was playing here in the bowl, $50 a day for the field. But when we do this, the league games, it will be the entire thing for $250. And the reason for this really is, our programming that is city programming, the city really does subsidize a lot of that. Like we maintain the fields and we do all those things. And when we have outside organizations reserving and renting our fields, they need to contribute to some of that. That fee needs to be comparable enough to help in all of that. And they are businesses that are also, taking their reservations and need to pay for their usage.
So you have a question on, so I would assume that the recreation comes first.
Yes,
So that's all, calendared and on the books before we open up any reservations, is that correct?
that is correct. But that's what the challenge is at this current moment, because we have baseball, softball registrations that run throughout the month of March. And some cities have ordinances saying that you can't even get on the fields until mid-April, like simply because of weather, because it's good practice to maintain turf and those kinds of things. Our challenge is that's when rec starts, is kind of towards the end of April. But all of our other leagues, these outside leagues, soccer and lacrosse, want to get on it right now. And so they want commitments right now to make their schedules and run their games. And so when I try to tell them, no, we gotta hold off until we know where we are with our programming, that's where there has been some frustration from those leagues. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I understand that they want to get going there as well, but that's a challenge for us. So
Is there if somebody had deep pockets and just wanted to reserve Monday to Friday, whatever, does that ever come up, or do we share it with many different things, or could somebody monopolize it and just take it all?
they could, and that's kind of the problem with some of these leagues.
But with this saying right here, all city recreation programs take priority. That puts a little bit of teeth into us saying, sorry, you can't, because we have the right program.
Yeah.
But that has to be on the calendar before this is even opened up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and so right now I have, back in January, received requests from both organizations to reserve fields. And where they don't overlap with our anticipated scheduling, that's okay. It's where we don't know where that overlap is going to be, that is the problem. So our baseball, softball, all of our spring themes for the city rec run Monday through Thursday. So technically Saturdays are okay that way. So soccer will most likely run their Saturday games at Shady Lane, and we will run programming there all throughout the week. So any practicing that they do, they just send their coaches to find their own spaces to play. Lacrosse generally has reserved the bowl Monday through Thursday, 5 to 9. So that whole time for the whole season, like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and then also wants Saturdays for tournaments to reserve it as a home field. The bowl. So our challenge in that is that if we also allow that to be the case, then we are not providing the Bowery to be an option for people to reserve. And so there's just some concerns overlap way.
How is the grass down the also supposed to work? What's the turf look like? I'm sorry.
The groups use it. Groups and
Well, I don't.
Soccer, I think soccer's used it some.
Yeah, we had teams out there practicing soccer in
It
the
has
fall,
been, but especially towards the
and in the spring, that's usually the challenge.
north end or west end is.
I call it.
Already in there.
Yeah.
The north end. Have we kind of lined that up, and you think that? Because I don't want people starting to move into where this destroys it. You know,
Right.
you need to have it be the turf good enough. I mean,
Yeah.
we're
So
pushing.
we got to go ahead last year to let some of them go out there and start playing, and we offered that to lacrosse, who was not interested last year. This year, my initial, interaction with them, I told them that, hey, that might be the only space we have in the spring for you to practice. Games are still kind of on the table, we can still make decisions that way because of that Saturday. It's just considering the overlap of the Bowery and a potential improvement that needs to happen there at, the park as well.
Concrete, and I hopefully get good level.
Yeah.
Parking lot. That's at least when the spring comes,
he's still playing about that.
so I'm hoping that we get things.
Yeah, I think it's been good progress and the grass is looking much better. and-
That's off.
The intent would be it would be allowed.
Is the bowl going to be completely out? I know we're doing construction on the west,
The south and the
south
west
of the
side.
west.
Yeah,
So is that going to be everything?
you're basically that bottom quarter.
It will not accommodate a lacrosse field, because lacrosse is already running like right up the field. So during that construction phase, that will be anyways, but because of the shift in the use of Pleasant View City Park, we may have to have our T-ball run here in the bowl. Because T-ball is a furnished field type, and so I'm trying to hold on to some of that space at least midweek for that, for our registration. That's the tricky piece right now is we've got lots of moving pieces. Where are we going to be with construction of pickleball? Where are we with potential renovations here at Harvard Pool? How money will, by sport be, soggy because it is a detention basin. They're doing their job when they're wet. That's good. This is challenging for us.
When does do we have any idea when the construction here, when the renovation of the fall will be?
The plans are getting pretty close, but you have to wait until you get out of spring. And you're gonna get into the Founder's Day, so I'm sure that we get it out bid early summer, that you would have a after Founder's Day start date.
Yeah,
Because you want to be in that dry period.
Make sure we reserve Saturday the 22nd.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Bowery right now, so it's done, you can't do anything.
They bought it out years in advance.
Yeah, but so I'm wondering their spring season, across the spring season for the ball. Is that, I think that ends like May.
Mid-June. I think it's mid-June.
And I will
Or
say,
maybe it's May.
part of maybe the frustrations from lacrosse this evening and part of why we're here this evening is, so we've held off on any outside registrations to get this
Yeah.
kind of finalized and in place. You all may recall, but we started this process about a year ago, and so it's been a long time coming, and we'd like to get it solidified.
The fee structure, I mean, I think I pay $10,000 a day to watch my daughter dance. So I understand the fee structures. I mean, this is not for a tournament. That makes sense. I'm just more wondering about the Bowery. It seems like that's gonna be a complication. So that would essentially mean nobody can rent the Bowery for 3 months, and that's gonna be a problem on Saturday. Is there an alternative? Did the committee discuss having them bring in bathrooms? Because the bowl is kind of separated from the Bowery area more than the baseball.
That was the biggest challenge that this kind of all began there.
Yeah,
They didn't like that option of having to bring in
Oh.
the restrooms. I don't know where we landed with this. It does say in somewhere. Portable restrooms, so on page 2 of exhibit A, it says portable restrooms may be required at own cost. And it says see chapter 12, point 12. When soccer reserves Shady Lane, although there are restrooms and plenty of restrooms available there, because they start mid-March and our restrooms are not open then, they do bring in their own porta potties at their own cost until our restrooms are open. That's just been standing protocol since I've been.
Well, and I guess to Phil's point in question, I don't know, you know, if there is a provision that, you know, we could add with the exception if they, you know, Bowery's already reserved it.
Or if it's a conflict, it's either bathrooms or you don't get to play. I mean, it seems like that's the alternative. And so,
Is there a way of having them not need the Bowery possibly? I mean, because if I were having a tournament here, I wanted shade and tables and things to do something there possibly.
I don't know that they really use the Bowery much,
I know it's the Bowery.
It's the
but they use the
bathroom.
parking lot and everything, and so some of the challenge has been that somebody's had the Bowery reserved and they pull up and they can't even access the Bowery.
it's awful.
Because there's no parking, or if people do use it for lacrosse, it's not really like they're using it, it's more like maybe bags are set there, we're kind of waiting, coming and going, so the challenge is more just the space available, the restrooms, definitely, and parking and things that way, with having both of those go on.
Do they do it is the class every week?
No, it's not every week, so, they sent me an email and they requested it, they want it for 6 weeks as a home field. I think 5 or 6 weeks this spring for a home field for games. And until our programming starts towards the end of April, we could probably offer some practice here, but that's not going to be an option midweek. The weekend piece we could work out with Bowery considerations and all of that.
We might have somebody trying to comment on the Zoom, sorry.
Hey, Amy,
Yes,
you guys,
Sarah?
sorry, my voice is terrible. So, I don't know if this is the time to offer, with Parker Park, maybe renting out the entire facility for an entire day. Maybe that shouldn't be an option because of the limited parking size and the precarious nature of the Bowery and things like that. If somebody wants to rent out a park for an entire day, maybe that one should not be an option. And I can tell you that I strongly disagree with allowing private organizations to use public parks as quote home fields. I don't think that is something that the city should be offering or willing to negotiate.
Does that mean we don't do AYSO or what, is it just lacrosse?
They're not asking for a home field. They're not asking
But
that
they're
this is our
renting.
field.
Well, but I think that the verbiage of home field, I understand, but AYSO is running for the same amount of time, right? They run the season the same amount of time, so.
Yeah.
Right.
City benefits from the income from it too, like if we can accommodate it and we can accommodate sports instead of video games, like I'd love to be accommodating if we can, but not at the price of our recreation either.
No, for sure,
So-
recreation's gotta be a priority.
Yeah.
I just don't want an empty field, you know, I don't wanna regulate.
No,
everyone else.
And that's not what I'm saying. I think that a private organization shouldn't be able to come in and say, boom, this is mine for 6 weeks. And if you're going to do that, you better be paying a whole lot more money than $250 a day. That's just my thoughts.
The paying for it is better. Or the visitor.
Yeah,
That's just a schedule.
I can't hear you guys. You're not talking into your microphones.
You're just saying how much we love you, Sarah. No.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. I'm sure that's what you're saying.
I think the key is you're making it work for all of the groups, and they just don't want that particular accommodation. It's not that you kick them out, they have an opportunity to go to a different field, just because it's not the field that they prefer. I think it keeps getting painted into this place that we're just trying to kick them out. It's, you still accommodated them, it's just not the particular venue. But Parker's a popular venue, that's why it's a problem. That's why it has that overlapping issue when they fill up. It's not just them, it's all of the activities. It's one of the most popular parks for most children that want to come to. So it's by no means everybody keeps making it sound like you're just trying to say, no, lacrosse can't be here. They have other accommodations here that this would allow.
Yeah.
It's just not a particular venue that they would like.
No, totally. The question, maybe I don't understand that. Is AYSO gonna be a retreat? Is that the same, is that an outside organization?
They are.
Yeah.
So, and I think the difference with lacrosse then, if we're differentiating, is lacrosse is looking for practice during the week, where AYSO doesn't reserve time for practice during the week.
Yes, so that's one piece of it. The other piece of it really is just per location.
They want.
Really, the
one
problem
specific-
is Parker Park, is that there's that Bowery that is usable and is busy. And Shady Lane is different dynamic. Does that make sense? And
Oh, yeah.
at Shady Lane, there's more restroom facilities, so it can accommodate more.
No, yeah, I'm just wondering
So
why,
it's more like per location. I think that's the problem.
why is AYSO, it's not a problem for them to take Shady Lane for the entire Saturday? But lacrosse is here. I'm just trying to differentiate, like, we don't move AYSO soccer. Would they, I'm just wondering why we treat those two, because it seems like this is more lacrosse focused is the issue. I'm just trying to differentiate why it hasn't been an issue for AYSO.
And I think AYSO rarely uses Barker Bowl. So I think Barker Bowl is really the challenge. I think it's with the pavilion and the parking and I think that's really the challenge. Their preferred location is the preferred location of everybody else type of thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. If we said, okay, lacrosse, you reserve Shady Lane for 6 weeks, then AYSO would use the ball. You see what I'm saying? They
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to use Shady Lane. So I'm trying to figure out why.
Yes, and if that happened, then we would have issues with AYSO at Parker Park. Because it's a matter of the number of people we're bringing, the facilities available, and the overlap of Bowery.
So to Councilmember Nelson's question, and I don't know capacity wise, but could we have AYSO and lacrosse at Shady Lane?
No, not really, because they have painted fields. So soccer would have their painted fields and the lacrosse field is different, and they couldn't
We couldn't put
both
both over there.
paint on the same time. And they would both want to use the same ideal times on
Yeah.
Saturday. Does that make sense? So
They use, AYSO uses the whole area, right? There's not like open space. When I drive by on Saturdays, it's the whole.
yeah, it's
And correct me if I'm wrong, AYSO, that's one of the groups that when they did have a conflict, went out multi-sports.
Yeah.
That would be available field.
yeah, and they have rented porta potties
Mhm.
as needed when they needed to as well, if we didn't have the facilities to meet it. I mean, this past year, we had vandalism problem, and AYSO, it's actually called SWAT, AYSO is like the old term, because they want to pay for that. No, and
I'm like, why can't I get this acronym down?
no, it's okay, but they provided their restrooms for an extended amount of time because ours were closed due to vandalism as well. So,
Yeah, they all need to be the same.
Is there room on, not the bowl, for moving up to having a court or the field that's painted off differently than anyone, I know the baseball goes out, but you don't have baseball, could you have a field,
a lacrosse field
a
or
lacrosse
something,
field or soccer field,
So-
above, going east to west?
right? It's
Not
tricky.
encroaching
It's
on baseball.
tricky, but possible. We do in the fall, that's where we paint our flag football fields. And this past fall, that was part of the, trickiness with lacrosse here in the fall is that we used it for flag football. So we used the bowl and the top, because traditionally we've used Pleasant View City Park. And anticipating the fall and some of the construction that's happening there this fall, we moved that out here to Barker. And so we did have a football field up there. A lacrosse field is a little bit different. It's tight. but they might be able to work something out.
Especially
there.
during construction, to move that up, have the ball out of bounds. To have that be maybe a little small for something else, and move it across. Because I know some baseball is in this, is baseball played in?
Yes, it is, and it is, but city rec is spring, and it's all baseball, softball, all of that stuff, but we play
Every night.
during the week, yeah, we play every night, we don't play on the weekends. Traditionally, that's just how it's been, because we partner with our surrounding cities, and that's how they run it. But there are private teams, comp teams, baseball teams that also reserve Barker baseball field and are requesting that in the spring to play. And so the one time that was the real issue this past summer, I think that it was the perfect storm. Dave Albert would tell you that we had baseball there, somebody had the Bowery, and they were running their games.
Yeah.
And we had people parking up and down all the neighborhood streets, and it was just not able to accommodate
Yeah.
that.
So
Dave has a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Saturday doesn't seem like it's the issue then, really, it's the weekdays that where we need our teams to play games, and they want the weekdays to practice.
Yes, and we've offered multi-sport, possibly even Pleasant View City Park would be an option for some practices. At least for a minute, because during mid-April on, we're using Pleasant View City Park for baseball as well. And so that's where the challenge comes that way. I know that the mayor has concerns with blocking out the Bowery for an extended time, like, oh, okay, 6 weeks out of the summer, then you can't use the Bowery. People will say,
Makes sense.
well, we're taxpayers and we want to have our things here. And so I know that's been part of this discussion too. How much do we just lend to a league and how much do we keep open for citizen use?
Dave? Dave?
Yeah, I got a couple of comments, a couple of questions too. I really like what Phil is saying about, we got to treat everybody the same, but it looks to me like our biggest issue is that we do not have the sports park functional as a sports park. And I know we've made a lot of efforts there. We've tried to get that parking lot done, but I think it needs to be a priority of the city. And I don't feel like the city has made an effort to kind of follow what we're trying to accomplish there, but we need that sports park to be a viable park by midsummer, no later than midsummer. We got to figure out how to do that. I know the spring might be an issue because we can't get in there, but that's going to solve 90% of the problems we're talking about today. That's my opinion. I know that the Bowery an issue, of Barker Park's an issue. The other question I have is these fees I think they look reasonable to me, but I'm wondering, how do we know what our cost is? Do we know what it costs us for us to use that, or is this more of a deterrent or more of a just deterring everybody from using the park all the time kind of thing? Or I'm just kind of curious if we really thought about the numbers of what it costs us when we have a park reserved for the whole day, what it is for an hour, that kind of thing, if we put numbers to it.
So we actually did have discussions on the costs. I'll just jump in on that one. And it really is dependent on the staff member that's responsible and involved. And so depending on, their individual rate of pay, but you're looking at, probably on average $20+ per hour. There's times where we've had struggles getting part-time help, or depending, people just don't want to come in on a Saturday. And so then you get some of that higher level help that's there, and then you're looking at a higher rate for that. But there's a lot involved there, and sometimes it's overtime, and so you're paying more in that way too. So I don't know if we have a specific number, but just based on the initial discussion and the salaries that we've discussed, this is significantly lower than what that cost would be. And then there's supplies involved as well, especially with the restrooms. So it's not just the staffing. That perfect storm day that Cindy described, they completely ran out of toilet paper, paper towel, all of the supplies.
Well, and Dave, to speak to that as well, we did a lot of research in surrounding cities and others and what their fees are. Some of them don't even, reserve to outside,
Yeah.
organizations. It's just totally off the table. Some of them, Far West, their fee is $250 for the day for a tournament for leagues to come in and play. That's also comparable to Ogden and some of these others. Harrisville does not reserve any of their fields to outside organizations, and North Ogden has the same challenge as having space. So like, if I were to adhere to it, that they were interested in trying to play there, and there's just not space, and so that's not even an option.
That is where a lot of those no reservations come from, is that you don't have the staffing and ability to manage, because it is complicated. Just as we've discussed tonight, and that's why we have those no reservations. You don't have the resources to put to keep it all together. And detail out every dime that you're spending on it. You don't have the staff to do that.
Yeah.
So they just shut it down.
And I will say just, I mean, obviously, this was just put out for this meeting, but with discussions with SWAT, I won't even try the acronym that Phil kept using. I get it wrong. And then also with lacrosse, we've not had any complaints or concerns expressed about adjusting our fees.
Yeah.
I think people know that we've been well below the curve for a long period of time. And I don't know, Cindy, maybe you've had different experiences with the recreation fees and the modifications there, but just from the fields, we haven't had that feedback.
Yeah, no, I think people understand that. Even with some of our fees that have gone up, people know that we're not even covering the costs.
Are we going to? Sarah?
No, I was just gonna say, just for reference, when Amy mentioned that I had some concerns about not charging enough, not for recreation per se to participate, more about the reservation of fields and things like that, because if you were to go call other cities, like Cindy mentioned, we're still way below, I mean, or barely comparable at $250 a day. They're still getting quite the deal. It's still a whole lot cheaper than a lot of other organizations.
And this also speaks to Bowery reservations. We have changed those Bowery reservations, and looking at neighboring cities, those would all be comparable as well now.
Yeah, are we going to do these in a separate, I mean, the ordinance, we have a resolution.
Yeah, let's adopt them separately.
Okay, so we were talking about the resolution 2024-C. At this point,
That's the fee schedule.
the fee schedule. And then we have.
Steve, I can't hear you very well. Can you speak in your mic?
I'm speaking into my mic. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you very well unless you get right in there.
Amy sounds really good. Everybody else is a little bit
Yeah,
like,
Tyson, Cindy, and Amy.
Maybe this sounds good.
No, I'm just loud.
No, it's true. Amy, Tyson, and Cindy, you can hear really well. I
Jay,
can't
can you
hear.
hear me if I talk like that?
and Sarah has a really great voice.
I know. It's awesome. Thank you.
Dave?
Oh, that sounds louder. We
Dave,
changed it.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, keep going.
We have been discussing, in my opinion, the resolution 2024-C.
Whoa.
Yeah. Talking to the,
It's number 4.
which one's the?
No, the one that you were just talking is, I don't know if it's off. Oh,
I think it's Zoom thing. Or it might be wireless. I don't. Want to turn this off? Oh. You turn that on.
So
Look
that,
what you, look what you started.
there's down here, there's.
Hey, can you hear me? Are you able to hear him, Dave? Can you hear?
I
him?
can, yeah, so are we voting? Sorry, I didn't hear anything.
Steve, I can hear you.
Do you want another ice chip before I go?
Sorry, what's the question?
So we've been discussing these, exhibit A on resolution 2024-C. We still have ordinance 2024-6 that talks about the regulations and also fee schedule.
Yes, so the
So-
ordinance, the fee should match the ordinance. So if you're gonna, I would do the ordinance first. And if you make me, yes,
2024 so now let's address ordinance 2024-6. And then we will entertain the motion for that, and then we'll do the resolution. Is that fair? Okay. So, who wants to cover, is there any additional information on the ordinance? Because there's other things, barriers.
Yep, we can,
A lot of red in this one, so.
I don't know.
Recreation
System,
programs,
are you down now?
I don't know. Can you? Oh, no, you're fine. I don't know what's going on. Cindy, what are you doing? No.
Dave, can you hear Amy at all?
Yeah, I can hear you and Amy.
Oh.
We're good.
Okay, he can hear. Hopefully Sarah
Yeah.
can hear. Okay, so the ordinance does have all of the fee adjustments. Oh, what, Sarah?
I just said I can hear you. There you go.
No matter what, you people can hear me, even if my mic's not working. Whatever. How loud am I really?
Loud enough. It's good.
Loud enough. So with the ordinance, it does include all of the fees incorporated. And again, I appreciate the heavy lift that Cindy's done on this because I think the formatting is somewhat phenomenal. It's a lot more clear than what we had before, just in navigating and addressing the different things that are allowed, the different things that are able to occur. One of the things that was clarified was, and some of these are moved from that park guidelines document that we're eliminating in full. And again, the reasoning being, we'd hand that out to people, not keep that updated, and then it would conflict with the ordinances. And so we are gonna look to create something that's a reference to the ordinances, but not have it in ordinance. So slack lines, tight ropes, hammocks and other activities are prohibited in city parks. There's a couple of reasons for that: liability, but also damage to our trees. And then this was M is the one that was referenced by the individual during public comments. So leaving any sports or recreational equipment on or around the park lawns. So that's actually something that's already been in place. And I know that that's been a challenge with the lawns and the lacrosse goals because of the weights of them, but that's something that we've already encouraged and asked, because if it's difficult for a league to move the goal around, it's very difficult for the single person mowing to be able to move that around to accommodate that and to get that taken care of. There were some conflicts with regard to the designated hours. It had some times and so really this is some clarification here to say, depending on sunset and sunrise, but then also an exception because some of our lighted facilities, including the pickleball courts, can be utilized later. And so taking that into consideration and account with that. And then just hitting again that we don't allow for overnight parking or camping in our park facilities. The restroom facilities, this is just, again, that clarification with the schedule. And then if there's events that are scheduled outside of the time period, and then this brings into the porta potty question, or events with more than 200 attendees, the city administration, so that could be myself or the mayor, may require portable restroom facilities for the reservation. It really would be on a case-by-case basis on that. The reservation and fees, so you'll look at, this kind of goes through and addresses those. And with regard to pickleball courts, that's going to be kind of a little bit of a unique challenge. We've already had some reservations that have needed to occur with that, partly being our Founders Day in and of itself. relationship with the PVPA trying to fundraise for the new courts. And then also we had a request last year from North Ogden to utilize, and we have got a great partnership with North Ogden and their recreation. And so there were some accommodations there, but just providing an amount to that if the city administration authorizes some type of exception to it. But again, it emphasizes until we have more courts where we'll come back and revisit. The courts are generally available on a first come, first served basis. So basement rentals, this is very much similar to what I know we've talked a lot about these in the recent future, or in the yes, recently. So with regard to deposit, we just added some clarifying language there that the refund is subject to any damage incurred or additional cleaning required. Because before it was just a little bit unclear whether or not the deposit was something that would be received back and how. And so just some terms there on how that comes back. And we talked about kind of the other things in there the last time we talked about. I think the other thing that we've kind of added in each of these is requesting 3 days notice for use of these different facilities, just so that we can get those calendared and staffed appropriately to be able to do that. So with regard to the Bowery, and we included the fees in the fees because of the way that Cindy did this, and really just to provide a flat fee. And so the Bowery reservation for a large group event, so if somebody's having a wedding here at Barker, it would include the Bowery reservation in the fee, but they'd also need to make sure that large group event doesn't conflict with an existing reservation. And then with the bounce house, kind of the same thing. So it's the same amount, but just kind of hitting on those individually. And so we've got the resident fees. The non-resident fees are doubled from what the resident fees are with all of those. I don't know if there's any questions or comments on those items. And then there is a very small, but a cancellation or modification fee just for additional staff time to make adjustments to what's there. It looks like there is this the final version here, Larry? Because it looks like there is a typo right
Yeah,
there.
right, see, that is, yeah, this is the one that
Mhm.
I have, so that word, I don't know what it is.
Talking about the first bullet point for
Mhm.
Yeah.
and use of bounce houses.
Yes, I said it
Yes.
is used. Very good.
Wheel of Fortune.
And so again, the 3 business days, and then this just provides kind of the list of the provisions to utilize the bounce houses. And then if a reserving party, if it's a private party, they need to provide their own power and water source. That's not something that the city would typically provide and allow for use of. And typically they do, they bring in their own generator, and we've seen water trucks come in with that type of thing. So field reservations, again, same as what's in the fee schedule. We did add, this is a new one, staff assistance available upon request with approval, and you may have seen that in the fee schedule, but I didn't hit on that prior. And the reasoning for that is if they, for some reason, need somebody that's present to assist with something, we can't guarantee the availability, so, we need that approval there. But it does allow for staff members to come and assist and to compensate some of that time. With regards to the horse arena, just clarification that we don't require any reservation for use of that. So I think before it just said no dollar fee, but it was a little bit confusing on whether or not a reservation was required without the fee.
And
So
you can't reserve Shady Lanes Valley. Is that what I understood? It's
Yeah.
not reserved.
it's not reservable.
No, Pleasant View Park.
The lower,
And lower.
Oh, okay.
Lower Shady Lane,
the upper one.
yeah.
Oh,
upper
the upper
Shady
one
Lane,
you can, above the, okay, so I was gonna say.
yeah, but the lower one we don't, and Pleasant View City Park.
Got it.
Yes.
So if you want to vote for your residents, is that?
Okay.
And that's been our approach. And then it talks about approval from the recreation director for field painting and net placement, which makes sense because you don't want 2 leagues painting in the same spot. That would be so awful. And then just working through the different league events and making sure And it says, you know, the city will manage additional restroom needs. So really trying to address the various different multi-dimensions of recreation in the city. So then from there, again, just providing a breakdown of the programs that we do provide, what the costs are, and then also just some different clarifying language that, you know, these are based on annual, seasonal, or limited basis. We can't guarantee that everything's available, but we do provide that these and others may be available on our website for notice if there's additional programs, so providing some flexibility there. With special events, and I didn't notice, oh, no, this is correct. So we instituted a special events form about a year and a half ago. And so this just provides clarification there as to what a special event is. And if somebody goes and submits this form, we actually have a committee that goes and reviews those. So if we have a road that needs to be closed, if we have different things that need to occur with regards to Tyson's staff or Cindy. And so we do have an application for that this is a large event. We've actually been having an increase in these 5Ks are kind of probably the big one probably. And that's kind of what that is. So I don't think that with the cost, that's an unreasonable thing, and the applicable fees are. So if they come and want to do a special event, they may need to pay for the Bowery, or they may need to pay for an officer, which we have a provision in there that they can do that. So just whatever that additional cost is, but there is that application fee to be able to request that and take the staff time to do that. Wadman Park, we don't have any changes proposed there. And that really is kind of the crux of the ordinance amendments.
It's been a lot of work, we've done a lot of work, making sure everything looks similar.
Amy, and I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but there's one thing.
Yes.
I feel that is unclear in my mind. And that would be, for example, a water slide that is being put on for the benefit of the Pleasanton residents. And typically Dean or Toby or somebody will, you know, pull out the water slide, have a phone or something, just for the kids to come have fun. I want there to be some provision in there where we can override some of this stuff possibly and be able to allow that to happen. I know that that's been a big issue.
So
in the past.
I think there are provisions in place so long as it's designated as a city event.
Okay.
And that's,
Because that's what's been rough, is, you know, they want to put on something for the city. And, you know, they have approval and they've gone through a lot of speak to have something fun for the kids. And you know, that's kind of like the, moving the park or something, you know, it's a summer activity. The benefits, not anybody, there's no fees charged for something like that. But I don't know if that needs to be under the special events.
so
But I just, you know, some of those things that may or may not happen. But there are some of those things that are community benefit with and it may not be an official Pleasant View activity, but it's for the benefit of the Pleasant View residents. And I don't think that's covered anywhere.
and there are some provisions, and I'm gonna have to look at where, and I don't know if it's as flexible as you'd like, but there are some provisions that there can be authorization from the city administration. So one of them, if you're looking at, and I don't know which page number this is, but under the bounce houses, large inflatable toys, that, and it's the second bullet point, it indicates, and this is something that we've kind of had some pickups with some of those big events before, but objects cannot be on the ground longer than 3 hours without the prior authorization of city administration, which doesn't fully address what you're asking. But the reserving party is required to provide their own things if it was a city sponsored event. And so it may need to be some type of partnership with the city, because with liability, with all of those things, it just, if it's open to the public, if it's something that's a partnership with the city, I think that absolutely is allowed with what's here. If it's somebody that says, hey, I'm gonna go and provide this free of charge in the parks and just set up this bounce house without any city involvement, then we.
Yeah, I know the fine line, and I just, you know, that those scenarios, I just think I don't see there.
So under special events, if it said a special event application must be completed, but right now it says any event. there's a plan that said any non-city sponsored event, is that what you mean? Because I mean, I guess the switch is when it becomes a city event versus when it's, because it's a city event, then clearly the fees don't apply.
I know, there's some fondness there. I think there's always been for the last 2 or 3 years, if the feelings and things. Let's do it, or, I don't know, I don't.
And I will say, and I know exactly which events you're referencing, just with my time here, I guess. I don't know. I can't speak to the path behind that, but I feel like there's been a lot of great dialogue. This last year, we had a little bit of a hiccup with an event that was put on for somebody's church group, and I feel like we ended up in a really good place.
Well, you know,
Navigating.
I don't want to regulate us out of
No,
fun. I mean, all these things need to be there. But I want us to be realistic and open and workable, have some flexibility
mhm.
for some of these things. And, you know, whether you hate somebody or like somebody or whatever, I don't want to poison that sense of community.
But that seems like to me then, the city having discretion over waiving the fee becomes more complicated. Right, because it gives them a yes or no. So if it's just everybody, if I'm putting on an event for kids, I pay the $50. And if I won't pay the $50, then I have to be responsible.
The sad thing, because that is. Our.
Well, I don't think that's, maybe it's covered under your special events.
Well, I do like the suggestion from Phil to put any non-city sponsored events, because I think that kind of adds. And then if somebody comes forward and they want to partner with the city to do something, then we can help advertise it, then we can help. But the challenge we've come into, and not with the events you referenced, I think we're thinking on the same wavelength, maybe we're not. But I mean, occasionally you have these groups that come and they are like, well, we're doing this birthday party for our kid and we don't want to pay this, or we don't want to, and then, I mean, to Tyson's point, it gets really sticky, and then they, you know, are maybe neighbors with somebody that we've said, oh, well, you did this, so you don't need to pay. It gets messy.
Right.
Yeah, I did fundraisers for like a terminally ill kid in North Ogden, and they made me pay at the senior center. I remember, and it was for that same reason. It was just like, it's a good cause, but we don't want to have discretion on who gets fees waived.
Have we talked about?
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion.
So let's do the ordinance 2024.
I do have a couple of tweaks proposed on that, under bounce houses, adding the U in use. And then, under special events, non-city sponsored event.
There's also a tab on I that's like indented on 12.010. This is the very beginning part of the regulation.
Clean up.
Just a clerical
12.010.
I.
I, okay, I see that.
Okay.
That's one of it. Like, under exceptions,
Mhm.
the fees will be that the.
It's under that portion. Well, I wonder if it should be under designated hours. I wonder if that sentence would better serve where it talks about when the park is closed.
So just.
So take that out of the exceptions and move up to
Yeah,
after sunrise.
yes. That, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, restate all that real quick, man.
I know. It's gonna look like this. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2024-6 with the suggested changes stated.
And are we doing the resolution separate then?
Yeah.
Sorry. Second.
We have a motion by Ann with the changes stated, and the second by Phil. This is a roll call vote. Harrington.
Yes.
Gibson, yes. Marriott.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Yuri.
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
And you too, Steve? You can go.
Yes.
Okay, I'll,
Did I say it?
I don't know,
he did.
you might have. Okay, gotcha.
And we have an entertained motion for resolution 2024-C.
Yep, and I don't think we have any amendments to this one, right? It's just as it is. So
No.
motion to approve resolution 2024-C as it is contained in the packet.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Ann. This is also roll call. Arrington,
Yes.
Gibson, yes. Meredith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Last comment is I've coached at least 2 seasons for 9 years in a row, different sports, and I just want to say, so you're doing a great job. I mean, way improved. It's always been there. It's never been bad. But this season, like I got a gift after, I can't remember what the gift was. I think I got a reduced fee for the next season for coaching. Oh, it was just cool. I got a follow up. I'll say thanks for coaching. Communication's been great.
Numbers are on the rise because of the direct.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, good job.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
Item number 3, municipal wastewater planning program. Discussion of possible approval of the sanitary sewer maintenance management plan. This is resolution 2024-D, Tyson. Lots of stuff. Thank you.
Speak loud, Tyson.
So every year we do the municipal wastewater planning program survey. It's required by the state. That's used to identify deficiencies. I think they use the reports from all the wastewater systems to sort of develop what they're gonna enforce on you next year and update their rules and requirements or find deficiencies statewide. I'm just gonna cover a couple bullet points. I know that the format's really weird this year. They switched to this Google form and we couldn't get it to come across differently.
So it's all spread out.
Yeah, it looked like on the scanned one, you can barely tell what the answer was.
The highlighted, I assume that.
Yes, it's just slightly darker than the other one. So I'm gonna touch some key points and then if you have additional questions, let me know. So under the capital facilities plan, it's page 7. That one's been a deficiency for us for quite a few years. Water's taken over or stormwater. Those capital facilities plan is big undertaking to update any of those. So sewers always just sort of got kicked to the back with the impending problems from the other utilities. So this year they're underway with the model. It's probably the first real progress we've had because it's been on our books for so long. But they're working through the model to identify deficiencies in the system. Where the main flattens out, you have your overflow points or surcharge areas. So those will be underway. It'll come with updated impact fees, user rates, usually are part of all of that. Page 12, we just want to highlight that we're up to 55 miles of sewer main that we're maintaining. It's, I think when I started, we were down in the 30s with this report. Yeah, so it's just an eye opener. I think you're in the ballpark of 13 to 1,500 manholes for that 55 miles. So you're inspecting every one of those. You're supposed to be doing it once a year, every manhole, and the goal for your cleaning program is once every 5 years that you've essentially gone through every inch of that 55 miles.
Maybe every 3 years.
You do sort of the finished up is in that 5th year. So your main section is done. And then you have a little touch up. The golf course is always hard to get in, just because we have to coordinate driving that heavy back trucks out, and obviously the golf course, they're pretty particular. That one sometimes gets pushed back, and so that 5th year you kind of go through all those odd areas. The big trunk line out in the fields next to I-15 is pretty tricky to get out to. weather dependent. And how they flood irrigate, it'll water flood. So, but that program is obviously still working. Our last SSO class 1, that's where you affect more than 5 homes. Health and safety's at risk. We're still at 0. So that's exciting. And yeah, our last one was in 2009. So then the 4-year plan was implemented. And
Perhaps we'll hold down
yeah. It's rained through all these.
I don't know if Sarah and Dave heard that.
here.
ERC's equivalent residential connection.
I'm here.
587. And then we also need to update our SSM sanitary sewer management plan. Those are supposed to be a living document, but it's one of those that it's hard to find the time to sit down and run through something, so. If anybody has additional questions or.
I just noticed that the number of new commercial connections in 2023 was 3, that's not surprising to me.
So next year it'll be bigger, so most of your TIs, it's not effective until they go into service, so. like,
Describe what a TI is, sorry.
oh, the interior.
Tenant improvement, yeah.
So yeah, 2024, this report will be way out,
Residential will go down, commercial up.
yes. Yes,
3,587 homes, okay, that's interesting.
so that's the equivalent, so some things are worth more than others, but
Got
yes.
it, okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Dave, Sarah?
None for me.
And entertain a motion then to approve this resolution 2024-D.
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution 2024-D.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Harrington,
Yes.
Gibson, yes. Marriott.
Yes.
Nelson,
yes.
Yuri.
Yes.
Okay, pass.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. Thank your staff.
We do have 2 closed meetings tonight.
So the first is pending litigation.
Do we need the chief?
The chief's gonna be here all night.
Okay.
Sorry, chief.
We will do other business after the closed meeting, and entertain a motion then to go into the closed meeting.
Motion to go into the closed meeting.
This is for
For
litigation. Yeah.
litigation. Pending
Pending litigation.
Still second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all in favor.
Roll call.
Roll call. Nelson.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Gibson. Yes. Marriott.
Yes.
Yuri.
Yes.
Okay, we're in the closed.
Okay, let me stop
closed meeting.
stuff here.